Hey, everybody, welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzetta, and this is the Steven Singer Studios. Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. Joel Embiid snubbed. We're going to be talking a lot about that Nikola Jokic when we're having our fun. And for our, I believe it's our 0.5% audience in Serbia, you're not going to like what I have to say today. However, the rest of you probably are going to like what I have to say. We'll get into that. Phillies get a 9-0 victory. That's right. They didn't go into the ninth inning leading 9-1 and then blow it. No, they went into the ninth inning. They're 9-0 and they won 9-0. It's amazing how that works. Also, Claude Giroux gets himself a little goal. We'll talk about that for the Florida Panthers. Oh, we got so much to get into today on this fine day, including a Game 5 preview with our friend Paul Hudrick. And Paul Hudrick of Liberty Ballers will also react to the MVP voting, as I know that's first and foremost on everybody's minds. Here's a phrase I'm going to try to avoid today. And that phrase is shut up, nerd. Because I know a lot of people, when analytics get brought up, they love going down the avenue of you live in your mom's basement, you're crunching numbers, you're a keyboard gangster, the beep up numbers are fun. I don't fault people for doing research. And analytics, the worst thing analytics ever did was come up with a name analytics, because it's just your information. That's all you are. Your information. I don't care if it's your assist totals or your VORP, whatever. I don't care. It's all information. So that stuff for me, if you're not watching every game of every player, which is impossible, you're going to default to the numbers. And Nikola Jokic, good God, his numbers are insane. His numbers are better in so many, if not almost every, with the exception of points per game, better than Joel Embiid's. And if you're watching a little bit of Giannis, a little bit of Joker, a little bit of Joel Embiid, you're going to default to the numbers. And that's what the MVP voting is. What sucks is that the term is most valuable player. And for me, value means in the biggest game, in the biggest moments, that player is the most important, most valuable player on your team's way to success. And there's no way, and I watch Joker. I see games he has, not nearly as many as I do with Joel Embiid, but there's no way when a game's on the line, you're going to go with Joker over Joel Embiid. There's no way you can make an argument for me that with one game to win, when it matters most, that you're going to go Joker over a Joel Embiid. You can't sell me on that. I'm aware of his numbers. I'm aware of, let's even use the Joel Embiid argument. Throw the numbers away and just watch. I've just watched. He's great. I'm not saying he's not. I mean, I have to hate him now, but I admire the way he plays the game. But when it comes to most valuable player, there's no way you can look at what Joel Embiid has done in his career and say he is less valuable than Nikola Jokic. And I love this argument that gets thrown out by the Joker people. Oh, it's the regular season award. Really? Tell me more with your infinite wisdom about how the most valuable player is a regular season award. Because I was unaware of that. Thank God you told me. Because this whole time I thought it was MVP for the finals, the playoffs, and it was like baseball where you have a World Series MVP, you have a playoff MVP, you have a regular season MVP. I just thought it was all one. It's not. It's just for the regular season. Oh my God, no way. So what I couldn't get over was how just the playoffs have kind of proven my point that if you have one game or if you have one series in this instance, that you would rather have Joel Embiid over Joker. There's no better example than what we have just witnessed. And am I using the playoffs? Am I using that as reason Joel Embiid should win the MVP? Absolutely not. You know why? Because it is a regular season award. Everybody knows that. Stop repeating it. But all it did was tell me, should the most valuable player in the league have it on his resume that he was so valuable that he was taken out of a game for defensive purposes? Oh, well, who's he going to match up with against the Warriors? Well, Joel Embiid wouldn't come out of that game. Are you nuts? That ain't happening. So my problem is the numbers dictate that Joker had a better defensive season than Joel Embiid, when that too is ludicrous. And that's the one thing I could definitely point to with Joker that it's a phrase I always say when it comes to numbers. Yes, numbers never lie, but they can deceive. Like, the numbers tell you what happened. Like, here's the grade. That's what happened. But you can't tell me that you rather have Joker D'ing up somebody with a game on the line than Joel Embiid. And the defense in this is what I think gets thrown out the window. So my point yesterday, because I took to Twitter and I just couldn't help myself. I took to Twitter yesterday and I made the points that, I would have Embiid over Joker. I did the old greater than sign, Embiid greater than Joker. And then Embiid broken face, fresh off concussion protocol, banged up thumb, still greater than Joker. And then I went, it's mind numbing to me that a guy that had to be taken out in an important game in the playoffs, all be the playoffs. It doesn't matter if it's the playoffs or not. Should the guy that's most valuable in the NBA, should he have that on his resume? What's it say right here under your MVP award? Oh, back to it. Oh, wait a minute. You were benched in the playoffs. No way. For a defensive purpose, how are you that valuable then? Okay, anyway. All right, so back to the regular season, because it's a regular season award. Let's not forget that. No, he shouldn't have that on his resume, is my point. So when I'm going through all the Twitter and fun stuff, and we're having all our fun on the old Twitterverse, and I pointed that out, I noticed people jumped right to, it was the playoffs, it doesn't count. Like, what jumped to me and did make me want to say, shut up, nerd, was the fact that, so you can be great during the regular season, but once you get to the playoffs, you can poop the bed. And I'm well aware that Joker's been to a conference final and that Joel Embiid is not. Thank you, Ben Simmons. But I'm well aware of all that. But with Joel Embiid, I really struggle for the idea that somebody could be more valuable than him after the season that he had, the drama that went on behind the scenes, and everything else. There's no way that if you can watch these two players, you say to yourself, Joel Embiid is less valuable than Nikola Jokic. It's mind-numbing. And the thing that did make me want to scream, shut up, nerd, was the amount of people that said, that's the playoffs, doesn't count. As if it's like you're kids and you're playing tag. You got me. No, you didn't, because I'm on base. It's like, so once you make to the playoffs, that doesn't go into account at all, just in terms of the type of player you are. It certainly doesn't go on the resume for MVP. I understand that, because, I don't know, again, one more time, it's a regular season award. But that should no way happen to someone who is considered the most valuable player in the NBA. And it's almost like I'd be happier if Giannis Antetokounmpo won. Because it's like, oh, he's Giannis. I mean, what do you want? I don't know if it's just the days of Michael Jordan, even LeBron James, or even Kobe Bryant. It's like those days are gone where writers seem to just not want to vote for the same person over and over and over again. Like even Steph Curry, like with his back-to-back MVP awards. It's like, really? Like, he shouldn't have won more. Like, even LeBron James shouldn't have won more. Really? Like, Giannis could have won very well again, but he had more help than Joker did, certainly, more help than Embiid had, certainly, especially even after the Harden trade. So for me, I just would have rather Giannis won than go to another center not named Joel Embiid. But the thing that gets me is, I think if you're having a draft, I don't think there's a way that Joker gets taken over Joel Embiid. And that is really what most valuable means to me. And I know that for a lot of the people in the, myself included, the Embiid camp, you can't yell at the clouds, forget about the numbers, because the numbers is what everybody's going by. But if you are watching these games, you mean to tell me that you're going to take Nikola Jokic over Joel Embiid in like an all-NBA draft right now? You're going to take him over, like if you got the one playoff series to win, there's no way I'm choosing Joker over Embiid as my center. It's bonkers to me. And that's the only reason I bring up anything that's happened in the playoffs, because you're still playing games. Like, let's not forget this. And one guy was missing in the first 2 games of a playoff series against the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Number 1 seed in their conference. And he comes back, and it shows you the transformation. I'm not saying that belongs on Joel Embiid's resume for MVP, because obviously it doesn't, because, oh, get this, it's a regular season award. But what I am saying is just look at the capability that this guy has to completely turn his team around. That's the definition of value. The definition of it. There are a bunch of people that weighed in on this. Kurt Heelan was on the show a couple of weeks, about 3-4 weeks ago from NBCSports.com. National writer. He's got a vote. He did not vote for Joel Embiid. He did not vote for Joel Embiid to finish second either. He voted for Joel Embiid to finish third in the MVP voting. I went back. I clipped about 4 minutes of that. We'll go back to that in a second. But I wanted you to hear this because I think, and Paul Hudrick actually pointed this out to me, because I was unaware of this. I had not seen this yet. And Paul Hudrick pointed this out to me during our interview. And I tell him in the interview that I hadn't seen it yet, but I'm going to play it for you guys right now, because I think it basically sums up the best possible argument, I think, for why Joker shouldn't be back-to-back MVP. I don't agree so much with the idea of what he's suggesting they should do with the voting, but I think it's a great, qualifier for someone who should be an MVP, let alone back-to-back MVP, and somebody else who should have won, like Joel Embiid. Here's Steven Jackson with his take on the MVP and the voting.
What up, world? Hey, some kind of way we got to get a hold of this vote, man. Jokic is great, better than I ever was. I ain't taking nothing from him, dog, but he is not a back-to-back MVP, just like Steve Nash wasn't a back-to-back MVP. And these are just facts, man. It's other players who having great years, career years, who teams have a chance to win the championship. And if you know the game, you know Denver did not have a chance to win the championship. And that's just speaking facts. It ain't taking nothing from them. It's just the facts, bro. All these people that never made a basket or got a rebound voting, living their dreams through a keyboard, man, messing up the game and affecting people's careers. I got an idea. The top 75, why don't y'all let them vote? The top 75 players all time, let them vote for the MVP every year. And it's that simple. Stop letting these people vote who live in their dreams through a keyboard or never had a chance to even take a shot or get a rebound or a charge. Like, for real. This is crazy, bro. Joel Embiid, you got.
There's just something about the end of that he just sums up basically everything that we're all thinking. Joel Embiid, you got screwed over here, buddy. First of all, I don't agree with the 75 votes. I know a lot of alums that don't watch the game. So, and it's like, yeah, 75, they should vote. Dr. J would have voted for Joker. Okay, just stop voting. But I think that is a great qualifier. What he had said about if your team doesn't have a chance to win a championship, how valuable are you? I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like MVP for a long time, it felt like the best player on the best team, and they get the votes. And now it's like you compile the numbers. And I'll tell you again, numbers dictate how you perform in a situation. And the situation is the X factor, right? That's the thing it's different for everybody, every single person. And Joel Embiid's situation in Philadelphia, as far as I'm concerned, was a lot more difficult considering did not have help, no bench, and Joker had a more complete team in terms of bench, and no better example of that than the game the Denver Nuggets played against the 76ers, where the Joker played great, no denying it, but the bench came and just delivered in that game in South Philadelphia. And I do think that game had a lot to do with how the two were going to be voted upon by national writers as well, because that's the game that you are watching both, no doubt. You're watching the head-to-head matchups. And Joker's team won. Joker played great. Joel Embiid, according to his head coach after that game, got tired. It had to be taken out after playing the back-to-back against the Miami Heat, again, number 1 seed, before coming back to Philadelphia to take on the Nuggets. But I do think it's a great qualifier that Steven Jackson brings up there. In terms of if your team isn't a playoff team, if your team isn't a championship contender, then how valuable are you really? And I feel like the 76ers definitely, especially now with James Harden, are a championship contender, and Joker and the Nuggets, barely play in game. Like that to me is just not. That's not it. As far as the first round of the playoffs goes, excuse me. So I just don't. I don't understand it, and I don't understand how. I understand how you can look at the numbers, and that's why I don't scream from the mountaintops, shut up, nerd, because Joker led his team in every major statistical category. He created his own stat with 2,000 points and the 500 assists, and everything he was able to do is just insane. But I don't understand how you can have a guy carry a team through his situation, through the Embiid situation here with just improving every single year, through the Ben Simmons situation of all the distractions that was. Like Joel Embiid was your constant throughout that entire process, no pun intended, and not the most valuable player in the NBA. I'd rather have Giannis win it than to go to another center not named Joel Embiid. I mentioned this earlier. Here's Kurt Heelan. We talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He's an NBA voter who, and this is before anything came out with Defensive Player of the Year, but Kurt Heelan joined the show a couple of weeks ago to talk about his voting. He had Joker number 1, Giannis number 2, and Embiid number 3. We talked for about 20 minutes. Here's a 4-minute clip just on the MVP voting and also what Joel Embiid would need to do in the future to lock up that award. Here is Kurt Heelan when he joined us a couple of weeks ago.
It's a really difficult year for that award. That award in Defensive Player of the Year kept me up. I lost sleep over that stuff.
All right, well, let me ask you this, because Joel Embiid, he was asked recently, and he seems to be asked this question a lot. Hey, what are your thoughts on the MVP race? Do you feel like you've earned the MVP and stuff like that? And if you don't win, how do you feel? And he said recently, I feel like they hate me. If they don't want me to be MVP, if they're not going to vote me to be MVP, I feel like they hate me. So, Kurt Heelan, I'll ask you, why do you hate Joel Embiid?
You know why I hate Joel Embiid? Nobody who gets well done steaks is in my fan.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
And outside of that cardinal sin, for the record, I get it from his perspective. I said this at the time. I'm like, I expect, especially somebody as competitive as Joel, and he hasn't won one. I get it. It is personal, and he wants that. And I'm not offended by that. Like, first off, there's plenty of people who tell me they hate me. Like, when it doesn't happen in my own house, I'm pretty happy. So, but I get it. Like, if he wasn't that passionate, he wouldn't be Joel Embiid. Like, right. Part of what makes him great and part of what makes him so much fun is how much he cares.
Not that I'm his agent by any means. Is he a Philadelphia athlete? Do I root for Philadelphia athletes? Absolutely. Do I pull for him? Certainly. But when it comes to Joel Embiid, if you were to give him a exit interview at the end of this season, and we'll get into this Raptors series in a second, but if you were to give him an exit interview at the end of this season, what would you tell Joel Embiid he needs to do? What boxes does he need to check in order to put himself at the top of that MVP vote?
I don't. That's a really good question. Outside of like getting the top seed, how much better can he really play? Like, I think the help came and they didn't get better, but and this was my debate with Giannis and part of the challenge for this year. I don't think that was on him. Like, he kept performing at an MVP level. They didn't bounce back, I think, in a way some of us thought, well, now that they've got Harden, this is going to go better. Yeah. I don't know that it went. I mean, it did at first, right? For a few games.
Oh, the honeymoon. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but just, like, next season, I think beating the Knicks is like half a win. It doesn't even count.
Gotcha. So, and when you brought up the argument of, Joker carried the Denver Nuggets, obviously Giannis did the same thing, but had more help in Milwaukee, but you mentioned the position change, or the assignment change, rather. And then you also talk about Joel Embiid carrying the load here. I understand that everybody had to kind of carry their team, Joker and Embiid especially in that regard. Yeah. But with Embiid, it was like he had all that drama that went along with the Ben Simmons thing, and he still overcame that. Harden not playing well after the first 5 games as a 76er made me look at Joel Embiid, and only he raised his game throughout that time, realizing he wasn't getting as good as advertised James Harden.
Yeah, I think that that is a legitimate argument to make. Like, it is a very good case to make that his game didn't drop off. He still had to carry that much. And the drama of Ben Simmons and being asked about it every day in a very different media market than Denver, right? Like,
sure, yeah.
Jokic is not getting hammered like that daily by Mike Singer at the Denver Post. Like, it's not the same sense. So I think that, like I said, we can sit here and make the case. It was brutal, and I went the way I went, but it's not like I'm going to sit here and hammer Joel Embiid for his greatness, because he was MVP worthy.
Mm-hmm. So
by the way, Philly fans, I'm going to warn you now. I was one of those voters who put Jokic and Embiid both first team with Giannis, all NBA. I don't think most people did that. And I got a feeling you're going to see Embiid on second team all NBA, because most voters are going to put him at center and then put him behind Jokic, or enough of them. Jokic isn't a forward. Sue me. Like, if I can put him there, I'm going to put him there.
So that was Kurt Heelan a couple of weeks ago when he joined us about how he voted. Look, he didn't get too specific, unfortunately, as to what his reasoning was. The workload and the numbers seem to be greater, in his opinion, for Nikola Jokic. And the only thing Joel Embiid can do is be better than Joker. That's it. Both players raised their game this year. You can certainly make the argument that Giannis did that as well. But for the life of me, the numbers got to be there. I don't know if Joel Embiid's going to take this as Wilt Chamberlain did back in the day, when people told Wilt Chamberlain, well, how come you don't have more assists? And the next year he led the league in assists. I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know what Joel Embiid does next. But here's what I care about now from this point on, because it's over. Woj put it out there, so it's as good as done. Joel Embiid did not win the MVP award. I'm not crying about it. I just don't understand it. But going forward, starting with Game 5 tonight against the Miami Heat, I do expect Joel Embiid to be pissed off. I do expect Joel Embiid to go hog wild on the Miami Heat. Something else I said yesterday on Twitter was like, picture the worst fatality in the classic video game Mortal Kombat. Hello, nerd. And like, that's what Joel Embiid's going to be. Like, I'm talking about some Raiden stuff. You know what I'm saying there? Fatality. That's what I picture Joel Embiid doing tonight against the Miami Heat. Then the other side of that is, well, don't try to do too much because you're still coming back from the injuries. But I do think he's going to be pissed off, and I think he's going to try to take it out on the Heat. And I think the Sixers win tonight against the Miami Heat. We'll get Paul Hudric's thoughts on that in just a second. The other thing that I find interesting is that the bigger deal is winning in the playoffs. And how about you check this off? Because I think the Sixers will do this. How about you get to a conference final? How about you be the first Sixer to lead this squad since Allen Iverson to an Eastern Conference final? How about that, Joel Embiid? How about you get this team past the point that they were at a year before the process started? How about that? Let's see Joel Embiid do that. And I don't want to hear Joel Embiid talk about the MVP anymore. I don't think it helps his case. I think it puts the writers on the spot. And if it is going to be that close, well, this guy thinks I hate him, so screw him anyway. And let's go with Giannis, or let's go with Joker again. As the old saying goes, don't talk about it, be about it. And I think Joel Embiid needs to follow that advice from this point on. And it starts right now with Game 5 against the Heat. It'll also continue into the conference finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, after they're done with the Miami Heat. And then maybe go ahead and get those NBA Finals MVP awards. Let's maybe stack those up instead of those regular season awards anyway. Because the MVP to me doesn't mean what it used to. Like, the thing is that I also can't wrap my head around is that Joker does not seem like a two-time MVP. He does not have that kind of pull. I I don't look at him as a guy that's going to be leading the Denver Nuggets or any other team in the not too distant future as a perennial championship contender. I don't look at that at all. But I see a guy like Joel Embiid that can do that. You know why? Because what I have seen him do throughout this season with no Ben Simmons, with the it's not the same thing as being hurt and wondering if a guy is going to come back, or a guy being hurt and knowing he's not coming back. Like, that's the bigger issue there. It's about a guy like Ben Simmons constantly being that distraction. And all through that, Joel Embiid kept this team as a top 5, top 4, top 3, at one point with James Harden, the top team in the Eastern Conference. And all that goes out the window. And again, I'm not saying it belongs on his MVP resume because, stop me if you've heard this before, it's a regular season award. But should you ever see a guy that's the most valuable player taken out because of a defensive replacement? No, you should never see that. I know the Spurs did a lot of different things with Tim Duncan back in the day with Greg Popovich. That's a rare occasion. This thing with Joker using the stats to back up that he's a better defensive player than Joel Embiid, that does not add up. That's, again, a case of numbers now don't lie, but they deceive. These numbers don't just lie, they deceive. And well, they don't just deceive, they also lie, I should say. But for me, I don't see how it adds up to having a better player than what you have in Joel Embiid. But what you have seen in these last 2 games, I think, are the perfect example. Just his presence out there on the floor changed everything in this series. And I look forward to the Sixers and Joel Embiid putting this in the rearview mirror and finally making it into the Eastern Conference Finals, because that's how the real debate will start, at least for Joel Embiid and a playoff MVP, which they don't do, but maybe a Finals MVP. And that's what we'll be rooting for next for the 76ers and Joel Embiid. Paul Hudrick should be joining us in just a second. Hey, let's just talk Phillies for a second here. And Nick Castellanos had himself a nice game last night. Rhys Hoskins hit another home run. That was nice to see. I believe it was a 2 RBI game for Rhys. Then you also had Gene Segura hit a home run in his return to Safeco. It actually looked like I never made it to Safeco. I've been out in Seattle a number of times. I always want to make it to that field. I watch it's not even Safeco anymore, is it? I don't know. But the Phillies get the win yesterday behind Ranger Suarez on the bump. Had himself a nice little game. Phillies won 9-0. They improved to 13-16 on the season. They're back at it again tonight for a 9:40 start time. Schwarber was 0 for 5. His average back down to 200. Alec Bowman, another 2 hits. He's hitting 317. Nick Castellanos was 3 for 4 on the day in total with 2 RBIs. He had a couple of doubles for himself, which was great. For Hoskins, it was just his 3rd home run of the season. Suarez came up with 6 innings pitched, scoreless 6 innings, 4 hits with 7 strikeouts. His ERA down to 3.68. Nice to see for the Phillies in that regard. Let me tell you about the great people at Destination Retirement, particularly my man Mike Seibert at Destination Retirement, an income certified professional at Destination Retirement LLC and a partner of 1847 Financial and an advisor for Eagles, Sixers, and Phillies fans only. Maybe next year, Flyers fans as well. When it comes to long-term savings, why are you giving up the current enjoyment of your income? The answer is to have income streams in retirement. It only makes sense then to understand how income streams work so that you can direct savings in ways that give you the highest income when you retire. Think of it like climbing a mountain, ladies and gentlemen. Is the goal just to get up the mountain? No, it's also to get safely back down the mountain. Going up the mountain is your accumulation phase. Going down the mountain is your distribution phase. These are the 2 different phases of your financial life, and each should be addressed separately. This month, let's talk about college planning. We all know that college is expensive, and you ever thought about how it'll affect you in retirement? Let Mike show you an efficient way to help pay for your kids' college education and still retire on your own terms. Their first step is to avoid starting your growth cycle over by depleting accounts like 529s for big expenses like college. You don't want to lose your position on your growth cycle and have to start over. You can't get that time back. Instead, set yourself up with the ability to use vehicles that you could take money out of without starting your growth cycle over again. Find out how your annual retirement savings can help your college savings. Now your college savings can help your annual retirement savings. Michael set up your own portal in Retirement Analyzer, then use the software to help you navigate through the different phases of your financial life. For questions or to set up a meeting with Mike, email him at gobirds@1847financial.com. That's gobirds@1847financial.com. Or you can give him a call at the office at 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035. Or simply visit the website, destinationretirement.com. And as always, go Birds and play the song. Let me tell you about Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row, or at IHateStevenSinger.com. You're looking to get engaged, looking for the perfect gift? Maybe you got a push present coming? Hit up my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, because at Steven Singer, you know you're going to get taken care of with the perfect price every single day. Some other jewelers, you know what they like to do? They like to mark things way up just to make you feel like you're getting some kind of deal. When they're like, I'll knock off $200. Guess what? They're still making out like a bandit. At Steven Singer, you don't have to worry about if the guy next to you is paying more or less than you, because they're getting the perfect price as well. You don't have to worry about some promo code. You don't have to worry about any of that at Steven Singer. All you got to worry about is what you want to buy, because a real jewelry expert will walk you through everything with great quality diamonds from Steven Singer Jewelers. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price every single day at the other corner of 8th and Walnut, IHateStevenSinger.com. Let's jump into it a little bit further. The MVP award has been diminished in my eyes. We'll get into that with my friend Paul. And by the way, ladies, just remember, Paul's taken, okay? This man, the man of 1,000 faces. This one probably the most handsome, I will say. Without further ado, let's jump on the Roth Orthopedics guest line and talk to our good friend, Mr. Paul Hudrick. You know, the man of 1,000 faces, man of 1,000 haircuts, but no matter what it is, it's beautiful. This man's a handsome man. That's all I'm going to say. Mr. Paul Hudrcik, Liberty Ballers. What's up, Paulie?
I'm just over here living the dream, Mark. And yes, listen, so recently I got told the look kind of looks like Bradley Cooper from A Star Is Born. So how on earth am I going to cut that knowing with that knowledge in my head?
Man. Yeah. All right, Paul, repeat after me. Tell me something, girl. Now you. All right, no, I'm sorry. All right, anyway.
Good.
Are you tired? All right, anyway. So there's this little award that was given away. And I don't know if you know about this. It's a regular season award. I didn't know that. Called MVP. It's the most valuable player in the NBA, and the NBA is obviously that sport, that league that you cover so well for Liberty Ballers, of course, Paul. I don't want to hate on Jokic. I don't hate him. I just hate that he has won the award each of the last 2 years. Last year, I get the participation trophy. This year, I don't get it. Is this one of these things that you look at as someone who watches the entire league a lot more intently than most other people and go, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me either. How does Joker win over Joel Embiid?
A few things. One, I'm glad that you pointed out first, because I'm with you. Like, I take nothing away from how great of a player Nikola Jokic is, because he is a great player, one of the best players on the planet.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I hate him now.
but you know, and of course I have inherent bias. I cover the Philadelphia 76ers. I watch Joel Embiid every single night. I've seen his growth. I was covering the team when he was sitting out with navicular bone injuries, and he was just kind of like this mythological figure off in the distance, working out in the dusty gym at PCOM. Like, so all of that, like, of course, like I am going to have some inherent bias. But with that said, yes, I do believe that Joel Embiid should have won the MVP. Last year, like you said, I understood it because I thought, all things being equal, Jokic played every game. And again, that's not taking anything away from Jokic, because he was great. He had an MVP season. He deserved it last year. I had no issues with that. We move on. This year, I think offensively, you have to say they are both remarkably, historically dominant in their own ways. They go about it a different way. They do some different things. They're both big men, but they both play a different style, but both dominant, very dominant. Again, historically dominant. You look at, all the advanced metrics, and Nikola Jokic is, the best in like across the board. But Joel Embiid also won the scoring title. First center to do that since Shaquille O'Neal in 2000. First center to average over 30 since Moses Malone. That's a pretty big deal. I think like the whole context thing, sure. Jokic was missing Murray, missing Michael Porter Jr. Terrific players. I get that. It's not like Joel Embiid was surrounded by a bunch of all-stars all season long, with all due respect to Tyrese Maxey having a really excellent sophomore season. He's still a 21-year-old in a sophomore season. Tobias Harris had a bit of a down year, I think you admit, even though he's been terrific in the playoffs. Danny Green, who was so good for them last year, really, again, good in the playoffs, but was not so good in the regular season. He was hurt, banged up. Furkan Korkmaz took a big step back. Go up and down the list. And then, of course, everything that drug on with the Ben Simmons saga. He did not have – it's not like he was surrounded by this flush of talent. So I think, to me, that's a push. I think the records were close enough. Their seedings were close enough. That's a push. They both – I think Jokic played in maybe 6 more games. Push. I think the separator mark is the defensive end of the floor. Nikola Jokic, vastly improved. I take nothing away from how great of a player he is, how much he improved on that end of the floor. But I think when you watch Joel Embiid play defense, you watch Nikola Jokic play defense, it's evident one is better than the other. And it's so bizarre to me, Mark, that a guy that's been a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, that's made the all-defensive second team 3 times over, suddenly now is underrated on the defensive end of the floor because he's won a scoring title. Like, you see it, and I get it, it's a regular season award. We're not counting the postseason. I get all that.
Right.
But I think when you see the defensive impact Joel Embiid is making in this series compared to what Jokic did against the Warriors, and I get it, it is a regular season, but there is no circumstance in the world you could throw out 5 guards where Joel Embiid would be taken off the floor in a do-or-die game late for a defensive substitution for a late game possession. There is no circumstance in the world where Joel Embiid would be taken out. We see him locking up Victor Oladipo and Tyler Hero on the perimeter. And again, I'm not at all crushing Nikola Jokic. I just think you see those 2 players side by side playing defense, and one is better than the other. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I could not agree more. What I need to know is from you is, has this award taken a bit of a hit? And I know that's a huge insult to Nikola Jokic and all that stuff, but the MVP for me has taken a huge step back as to what it used to mean at the NBA level. Like, Giannis certainly has deserved it. I thought he deserved his last 2 MVP awards. You can also talk about Steph Curry just continuously winning the award as well. Steph Curry, to me, Jokic winning these last 2 years with Embiid playing as well. I understand last year, at least, because of availability. But this year, to me, it just leaves me scratching my head. So has the MVP award of the NBA depreciated in value in your mind?
I think that might be a little bit of an overstatement, because to me, I look at it like this. I actually think even saying it's a snub is a little strong in my personal view. Okay. But in my opinion, Joel Embiid should have won it, and I am disappointed that he did not. That's where I'm at. Because, but seriously,
that is such a proper way to put it.
Any of those 3 guys, that whether it was Jokic, whether it was Embiid, whether it was Giannis, any of those 3 guys, they all had MVP. We're not going to look back on this 20 years from now and say, if any of those 3 guys would have won it, this wouldn't have been something I know a lot of people always bring up the Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant year and all that. This would not be that. It won't be that. I really feel that way, with all due respect to Joel Embiid. I don't think it will be that way. I personally, and I think a lot of people in the Philadelphia area will look back and say, man, this is a damn shame that this guy had these 2 dominant seasons and got nothing from a personal award standpoint out of it. Totally. I get that. But I don't want to say it's been depreciated too, because the other thing is, Mark, I feel like LeBron, there was some voter fatigue with him when he was so great and the best player in the league. Yeah. You probably, I've seen people say, in his prime, you probably could have given it to him every single year because he was that good. But there was just a little bit of voter fatigue. I think some people wish there maybe would have been a little voter fatigue this year, but there wasn't. So no, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's depreciated. Would I be open to some different ideas as far as the way the voting is done? Sure. I would be open to that. I think because of our inherent biases, even if we're not we're obviously, as reporters, we're reporting objectively, reporting on what we're seeing. We're not reporting, we're not doing it with a slant, but I watch Joel Embiid every night. I watch a lot of Nikola Jokic, but I don't watch him every single night. I don't watch Giannis Antetokounmpo every single night.
All right.
I personally think that local reporters should be out. That's just my personal opinion. So I would be definitely game for the voting, the way the voting is done, changing.
Okay. Here's, I think, the most fair way to put it in terms of why I feel like this award has been depreciated. It's never been so much about the regular season. Like, you've never had to be reminded up until recently, it's a regular season award. That, to me, is more diminishing and belittling of the prize than anything, because the MVP of the NBA, yes, we know it's for the regular season, but that guy's supposed to be able to do damage in the postseason. Like, that's why a guy like Giannis, I totally have every, like, if he would have won it over Joker, I'd be like, it's friggin' Giannis, man. What are you going to do? And it's a freak. What are you going to do? But I think because we're reminded so many times, and it's drilled into our heads, it's a regular season award. It's like, yeah, but isn't that MVP supposed to be the guy that carries a team in the postseason, possibly to a conference championship, possibly to an NBA final, possibly to an NBA title as well? Like, that to me is kind of what I feel like, God, I hate to use this phrase, but like we grew up on with a guy like Michael Jordan and people experienced when LeBron James went to the Miami Heat. Like, that to me is kind of what makes it the most valuable player. It goes beyond the regular season.
It's fair. I mean, listen, Jokic has taken his team to a conference final. He has done that in the past. He clearly didn't do it this year, didn't do it the year before that.
Right.
And I think it's a fair point to be made. I think Steven Jackson made that point where he basically said, like, if your team doesn't have a chance to win a title, you probably shouldn't win MVP. And in Jokic's case, I don't think anybody looked at that Denver team and thought they had any remote chance of even getting past the first round, let alone making it to a conference final, to a championship.
I didn't hear that. That's a great point. Yeah.
So I get it. Like, I think, like, it's funny because, like, I can't argue with you because I agree with the fact that I think Joel Embiid should have won it. So, like, I can't argue with that, but and like, there is this like weirdness to me and maybe this is me just being too much online and too much on Twitter, but like the people who defend Jokic, like, man, it's gone to a weird place where it's like he's their child or something. Like, it's been taken to such an extreme with him where it's like, oh, well, the playoffs don't count. Oh, well, here's his VORP. And like, his defensive metrics are so great. And it's like, man, like, you guys, like, really, like, the defense of him is just, it's reached another level. And I do think I'll say this, and this is why I would be on board with the voting process perhaps being overhauled.
Okay.
I still think there are a lot of people in the media, and clearly not everybody, and clearly not even the majority, just some that didn't like the process, like the actual process when it was carried out.
Yeah.
And they didn't care for Joel Embiid when he first got into the league because they thought he was brash and immature. And I think some people still hold that against him. And what does he have to do to shake that? I don't know. But I do think we'll see when the votes come out. Like, it might have been a blowout. Maybe Jokic won by a lot and that doesn't matter. But if it's close and there are a few people that were like, that was kind of their thing. Like, well, Nikola Jokic is very likable and he's very humble and blah, 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 blah. But we remember Joel Embiid, he was tweeting, he had more tweets than minutes and all that fun stuff when people were saying stuff like that. Like, this guy is not that guy anymore. This is a different player, a different person. And I hate that I feel like some of that stuff is still being held against him. I think that's totally unfair.
Yeah, he's Arthur's dad. And this is the best version of Joel Embiid we've seen. Arthur's dad, man. It's a whole new ball game. Like, I've read your stuff for years. Once you became Miles' dad, man, boom, you went to a whole new level. So, all right. So let's change the subject because now I'm just going to start crying. But anyway, when it comes to that James Harden fella, this was the first game he scored 25 points in the playoffs in his last 13 playoff games. So he broke that trend, which is nice. How confident are you that we'll see something close to this even as the playoffs continue with the Sixers?
I think we'll see something close to this again. I don't think we will see it every night. I just think that seems unrealistic. I'll say what it makes me feel like is, and you and I have discussed this before, this is a guy that a year ago in Brooklyn looked like an MVP candidate. That's not that's not hyperbole. Like, that's legit. Like, he looked like an MVP candidate when he arrived in Brooklyn a year ago. It wasn't that. I know it feels really long ago for all of us because of everything we've lived through as Sixers people, you know, with Ben Simmons, with the loss of the Hawks, with everything that has followed. But it was a year ago that this guy looked like this. So I don't think that it just has magically gone away. I think that hamstring is still nagging him at times and still bothering him at times. And I think in moments, in spurts, that guy that we saw last night comes out because he feels good enough to have, you know what I mean? Like, I think he feels up to it and it can come out in spurts. Is that good enough to propel them to, you know, beyond this round? I do think so. And not only that, Mark, I think him being the point guard, and Doc Rivers has said this too, and I tend to agree, him being the point guard is bigger because you look at what the Sixers, where the Sixers have failed in recent playoff runs. Their half-court offense sucked, just flat out. It was bad. With Ben Simmons as the point guard, their half-court offense was bad. Now you have James Harden, who is, whatever you want to say about where he is as a scorer, is still a world-class passer, elite, has elite vision, and can make things happen and create shots for others. You have a Tyrese Maxey who can create in the half court and go off on any given night. So with those elements, all of a sudden, your half court offense went from being bad, like flat out bad, to now really dangerous. When you have a guy like James Harden, who at any point, like, again, it's not going to happen every night, but on a given night could score 16 points in the fourth quarter and, you know, against great defense, because Miami was great in the fourth quarter defensively. He was just better offensively. So when you have multiple guys, whether it's Harden, whether it's Maxey, whether it's Joel Embiid, who can just beat good defense, that makes your half-court offense really tough to stop. And I think that's where I am with James Harden. I don't expect it every night, but I expect that it is there at times. And I think him playing that point guard role, if Maxey continues to be, you know, have his moments and be really good, if Joel Embiid can regain his offensive form just like a little bit, him being that point guard can be good enough to get them through to the next round and maybe beyond.
All right. When it comes to that guy we were just talking about as our MVP, at least, Joel Embiid, how much better can he be? I know he's not going to get wave a magic wand and all of a sudden be healthy, but how much better can he get as this playoff series and hopefully this playoff run continues?
Well, what Doc said last night, and I agree, is we haven't seen the best of him yet. It's only been 2 games. We haven't seen the best of him in this series because, I mean, first of all, he's just got so much stuff working against him. The thumb, which he had just gotten used to at the end of the Toronto series, he almost has to get, like, re-used to that. He didn't play. He didn't do anything for a week, right? Like, he didn't run. He didn't do anything basketball-wise. So he's still getting his rhythm back, and he's still getting his conditioning back. And on top of all of that, he has a giant mask on his face because his face is broken. So all of these things, like, you would have to think they're going to get better, right? Like, it was at its worst when he had to play the first game 3 with the mask, with the thumb, out of shape, just clearing concussion protocol, you know, just getting his rhythm back. That was the worst of it, I feel like. So I just feel like as the games go on, as he gets used to all of these ailments and he's able to kind of rise above them, I think he's just going to gradually get better and better offensively. Now, defensively, he's been a maven. He's been ridiculous. He has been incredible on that end of the floor. And I think that is what has changed the tide of the series. And that's why we're tied at 2-2, because him defensively is so good and all of the injuries have been, you know, upstairs and not downstairs. So his legs, he looks great. He's moving really well. And it's changed everything the Sixers do defensively and how they defended the Heat. So I anticipate, offensively, there's more coming, but defensively, he's already been stellar.
I agree with that. Absolutely. When it comes to winning this series, what's your gut telling you there, Paul Hudrcik?
I think they're going to win the series. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win the next 2 games because I think for a bunch of reasons. One, the on-the-court boost they've gotten from Joel Embiid, and then the emotional boost. Like, when you have your guy, your best player, your emotional leader, playing with a broken face and a torn ligament in his thumb, coming off concussion protocol to help this team win, how does that not galvanize and rally everyone else to say, all right, this guy's doing this. We all need to step our games up. We all need to be at our best because this is what he is sacrificing for all of us. So I think that's a big part of it. I think it seems like the first team that shoots well on the road is going to win the series. And I feel like that's going to be the Sixers. I feel like maybe they won't, they've shot the lights out the last 2 nights in Philly. They don't need to do that, but I think they can be, certainly much better than they were in games 1 and 2 in Miami, because Joel Embiid is his presence has taken those good shots they got in Miami and he made them great with his presence. So now those shots are even better, even cleaner. And then on top of that, I think Bam Adebayo went nuts in those first 2 games because he was going up against DeAndre Jordan.
Right.
It's clearly a different ball game when you got to go up against Joel Embiid. I think Tyler Hero on top, again, he's a really good player, and he still might have, something to say in this series. But with Joel Embiid in the lineup, now they can trap him. They can hedge much harder on him in those pick and rolls. And it's made life much more difficult for him the last 2 games. So I think that's a factor. And then you touched on it. Now James Harden looking like he's going to come alive a little bit, hopefully. And I look at like the balance the Sixers have right now. Tobias Harris had 27 points in the game. So Tyrese Maxey's already had a 30-plus game. James Harden's had a 30-plus game. The most Joel Embiid has scored is 24, so we're still waiting for his big game. Whereas the Heat, I feel like Jimmy Butler, who has been he's been a madman the last 2 games, he has to be that in order for them to win when the Sixers are at full strength. And he could do it, sure, but someone else has to step up too. And I think the Sixers are going to do some things differently too against Jimmy Butler. I think they need to stop guarding him so aggressively at the 3-point line. If he's going to take 10 threes, have at it. If he makes 5 of them, you tip your cap. If that's how you almost guard him like Giannis. Like, don't let him get into the paint. Don't let him create for himself and others. Keep him out past the 3-point line. I think that's the way you need to defend him going forward. But I just think with all of that and all the momentum they have, I think they have a chance to win in Miami, and then coming home in Game 6, I think they'd have a real good shot to close them out.
Love it. Paul, what do you guys have cooking up over there at Liberty Ballers?
So we got a bunch of stuff. The stuff I just touched on with the idea of, the Heat are a very deep team, but I think the Sixers have shown that they're a more balanced team. And I think that might be what catapults them into winning the series, if they can win the series. Plenty of stuff on James Harden going forward, of course. And, like I touched on as well, how do you stop Jimmy Butler? What can they do? What changes can they make to do that? And then, of course, Joel Embiid and his defensive impact and what he's meant to them and what he can mean to them going forward. All that, we're covering all that. Written, podcast, the whole 9, you name it. We got it covered.
Tell me something, girl. That's all I'm going to be thinking about now for the rest of the day. Thanks so much. Paul Hudrick, Liberty Ballers. My friend, it's always great catching up with you. Thanks so much.
Of course, Mark. Anytime, man.
Paul Hudrick joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. In the shallow, in the shallows. Anyway, that's Paul Hudrick joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. There's something about that Bradley Cooper voice and the look, but the look for him and then the Bradley Cooper voice, just there's something about it that's so pleasantly over the top country in that movie, which is a phenomenal movie. I'll say it. Star is Born. And after Paul and I were done the interview, we talked about Star is Born for like 5 minutes. He had not seen it yet. And I will say there was a Field of Dreams moment in that movie, if you didn't see it. And what I mean by that is like a moment in the movie where men will cry. Moment in that movie where men will cry. And like my wife, girlfriend at the time, fiance at the time, when she was watching in the theater, she was just like getting emotional throughout the entire thing. And like then I was just like, this lady, come on, come on. And then a little exchange happened in the movie that made this grown ass man go. That's all I did. I didn't cry. I didn't shed a tear, but it gave me a little whimper. I'll go whimper more than anything. But I didn't shed a tear. No, sirree. Takes a lot to do that. But when it comes to this one particular scene, and no, it wasn't the end. I'll just say that it wasn't the end of the movie. So don't think about I'm talking about anything at the end of the movie. I'm talking about something that happened during this movie that made me go, ha, ha, ha. That's it. That's it. Tell me something, girl. All right. Paul Hudrick joining the show. Sex symbol, Paul Hudrick. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, when you have an orthopedic issue, you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman orthopedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, but each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, which means you can have the confidence to get past the pain and be what you were. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. Rothman Orthopedics, the official orthopedic partner of your Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers. Guys, we have a new partner on the show. It's one we've been wanting to work with for a long time now. I know all you guys in the chat, you really love this partner. Freestone Farm CBD, the best CBD brand. Oh, they farm it all themselves with organic inputs, and they offer some education along with what they're growing, and they grow it and make it in the best quality as possible. If you've tried, and I'm sure you have, you tried other CBD companies, forget about it. Freestone Farm CBD is amazing. It's the best. It's great after working out. It's great to help you put you to sleep. It's fantastic to just relax. That's what's so great about the great people at Freestone Farm CBD. What's even more exciting, our friends at Freestone Farm CBD just unveiled an all-new strain menu with some supremely good CBD at prices you'll love. Check out FreestoneFarmCBD.com. That's FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll find it all right there. Their menu is something that you'll absolutely have to check out, and I guarantee you'll love it. With strains like their insane tropical tasting Bayox is just phenomenal. That clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%. And Super CBD, which is half Hindu Kush and 21%. The genetics of these are unreal. They also grow their premium hemp flower in the Garden State. All organic inputs and IPM. There's absolutely nothing synthetic from this jar. After harvest, they carefully preserve all plant compounds with a perfect 3-month cure. Just one look or smell is enough to know this CBD is done right. And it's the perfect jar that you could absolutely get for CBD. I'll tell you right now, how would you like 20% off? How would you like 20% off your CBD? Huh? 20% off. Use promo code Farzy. That's right. Promo code Farzy for 20% off at checkout. Promo code Farzy for 20% off at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. That's FreestoneFarmsCBD.com. How about the people of PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsStation.com. Before we get into our morning rush, let's hit our chat check, brought to you by our great friends there at Sky Motorcars. Let me tell you right now about chat check. Hey, what do we got? Oh, okay, so let me just say this. I consider this to be a family show. That's why the Steven Jackson cut that played earlier, that's why I bleeped out the cussing, right? We're a family program. I don't know if you guys have the show on at home with the kids getting ready for school and whatnots. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to make it a family show. There was some kind of site that was trying to hack into our chat check that was offering erotica for everyone. Good job by PJ stomping that out. Way to be. We're not having that. The only erotica is me and Paul Hudrick talking. That's all you need, babe. That's all you need. So anyway, back to being a family show. Kevin, good morning. How are you? April, nice to see you. John Cheeseborough, what's going on? Sean, Tim, John, hello again. Dan Schwartz, what's going on? Good morning, everyone. Whenever I see GM in the chat, I always read it as like someone's about to complain about Daryl Morey or something like that. Dan Schwartz, keyboard gangster, laugh my ass out. Love it. Keyboard gangster is what my good friend Hollis Thomas used to always call it. Can people try to be keyboard gangsters? I talked to Hollis, by the way. He'll be on the show in the not too distant future. So we'll talk to him. John Cheeseborough, I also like. Oh, yeah, the Markieff Morris thing with Joker. That was fun. RJ Lucas, chilling, man. Oh, this is cool. You guys are catching up. That's nice. RJ, welcome back. Jan, I say let the players and coaches decide the MVP award. I mean, I think that makes a little bit more sense. I don't know if anybody else could tell you. In all honesty, I think that's the best way to do it, and I'm shocked that that's not the way it is. And it's nothing against writers or anything like that, but players have their friends in the league. They want to vote for their friends. I think writers, although some of them are friends with players, I don't think nearly as much as players are friends with players. So I'm not going to go ahead and just say that some writers don't befriend players. But I just feel like if you let the players decide, they're the ones that are in the game. Those are the ones that are playing against these guys. These are the guys that know who they should really fear in this game. And if another player is fearing another player, that's the ultimate respect. That's the ultimate sign of who's really the most valuable. And I think that would be a better idea. I don't think the Steven Jackson idea is letting the 75 players vote. No, no, thank you. Top 75, love them in pieces. No, thank you. I think the players and the coaches in the game should decide the MVP. And if they decide Joker, they decide Joker. Because then it's like, how do you argue against it? I saw this clip the other day on social media, and I forget who the person was, but it was some talking head like me who actually, this guy never even played professionally. I played one game for the Harlem Globetrotters, so I'm a retired professional. But in all seriousness, that's not a lie, by the way. That actually happened. I was a media member, but whatever. I played one game for the Harlem Globetrotters. But this guy, this talking head like me, was trying to tell a former NBA player who was tougher to guard. And the NBA player's like, dude, I've guarded them both. I'll tell you who's tougher to guard. It was like whatever of his Joker or Embiid. I don't know. But I just think the players are the better suited to tell you who the most valuable player in the NBA is. And that's regardless of Embiid winning 10 MVPs, whatever. I just think it's better if the players vote. So, John, I agree with you. John Cheesebro is making that point in the chat, and I agree. Embiid, Sean Gillespie, good morning. Embiid played most of the regular season without a number 2. Numbers may not lie, but they don't tell the whole story. Again, it's all situational. Joker's the only option. Without Jamal Murray, without Porter, he's the only option on that squad. So his numbers are going to be great. The thing that is amazing is the assist numbers. Like, he trusted that. He made plays for those players to put them in better spots, which is great. I'm not taking anything away from that. Fully acknowledge he is better at doing that than Joel Embiid. I will say Joel Embiid is the guy. Like, he doesn't pass up to anybody else to make a play because he's the guy that needs to make the play. That's where assists are great, but if you're a center, your job isn't to set up anybody else. Your job is to be the scorer, especially if you're the leading scorer on your team, especially if you're the leading scorer in the NBA. So that's just where I'm at right there. Al, good morning, buddy. What's going on? Rob, nice to see you. Absurdity. I agree. I really do love the people just trying to remind you it's a regular season award. I do really enjoy that because no. We were great during those 82 games and nothing else matters. Oh, really? The most important time of the year doesn't matter. Fascinating how you take comfort in that. Okay. Tells me the writers and voters are never giving the Sixers anything for the process. John, you're not far off. I'll go back to Markelle Fultz, what he had to say a couple of weeks ago about how they'll just never reward the process. When voting started to leak out and everything was going the way of Joker, Markelle Fultz did that radio interview in Orlando, I believe it was, and just came out flat out saying, yeah, they're never going to reward the process. I feel like Joel Embiid is in a similar case because of the process that almost Terrell Owens was in the NFL, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was like he's the third leading receiver all time for touchdowns. And he was only 3 behind Randy Moss, I want to say. And yet it took him 2 separate rounds of voting to get in. Like, oh, he can't be first ballot. Oh, he can't be second ballot. And then I think on the third ballot is when he actually made it into the Hall of Fame. It was like punishing him for being such a pain in the ass while he played. Well, Joel Embiid, yeah, maybe it might be a pain in the ass about talking about the MVP award, but I don't think that's nipping at him nearly as much, as far taking away from him nearly as much, as just being the crown jewel, as Brett Brown used to say, of the process itself. Ooh, here's the nudie people. Hello, nudies. And then Dan. Dan, you're not naked, are you? If you are, that's fine. Somehow wasn't even the top of the defensive player of the year. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's dumb. April, hello again. Get him, PJ. Speaking the truth. PJ always drops the truth. That's what he brings. Farzy show has bots, says Sean Gillespie. Yes, we're very lucky. I have to read one of these. Hold on. Okay, I'll just read the one that's repeated. To the bot in the chat. Online strips without clothing. That is going to be the show tag from now on. The Farzy Show. Online strips without clothing. Can I get the online strips but with clothing? Like, let's go cheerleaders as opposed to Delilah's. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Real time. Basketball writers admitted they turned in their vote at the last minute. That tells me they didn't watch anything. Just stay watch. Analytics won the MVP, not the eye test. Like, was there ever a time where we never talked about numbers and it was just the eye test? Where like we didn't even know of the eye test because it was really the only way to do anything. I just, again, yeah, I hate falling to the eye test, but I just don't see how you can look at Joker and be like, oh, he's more valuable. I just don't see it. Real time, what's popping? Real time, what the hell? Let's get these bots out of here. In the meantime, real time's like, click, what's going on? All right, no, this is it. Here, girls, want everyone, even you? I think we've been hacked by the Serbians. I think we've been hacked by the Serbians. It's retribution for my Joker slander. Farzy must be real time. Farzy has a diplomatic shirt on today. Is this diplomatic? This is one of my favorites, man. Ooh, this is a great story about how I got. No, it's not a great story. I bought a shirt in New Orleans. It's not the greatest story. I just love this shirt. Anyway, did I just call him Suarez? That's correct. I don't know why I say Ranger Suarez as Suarez, but I like to put that extra stank on it for extra. I don't know. I like to make him half German. I don't know. Farzy must be about to speak at a career day. No, not today. You guys love Paul Hudrick. God bless you. Alyssa, I still don't hear the Kermit in Paulie's voice. I do not. But good morning, Alyssa. Strange. Oh, wait, hold on. Mark. It's strange. My wife just came downstairs and saw the interview. She saw the interview on and asked if I wanted to come upstairs for sexy time. Mark, you're welcome. Huh? Anything I can do. Anything I can do. Ben Timmons. What's up, Ben? How are you? Paul does that to women, especially married women. You know who would never turn on a married woman or any woman? Mike Sealski. Jeez, I'm sorry, Benny. I messed that up. Benny is saying, you know who would never turn on a woman, married or any woman? Yep, Mike Sealski. Benny, that was wonderful. Norm Macdonald delivery. Written. That was a written joke, rather. Let's see what else we got here. Ben, what's going on? Bradley Cooper, passionate today. Bradley Cooper is passionate today. I mean, Paul Hudrick. Yep, there you go. Darian, good morning. Welcome in. He must buy expensive shampoo. April, I don't think you're far off. Betty, we grew up on Jordan. Farzy, didn't you grow up with Billy Cunningham? I've told you guys this before. My name was inspired by Mark Ivoroni, who was acquired in August of 82. I was born in September of 82. So right there. Betty, thank you. I love you too. Mac, what's going on? Shaw, Joker, likable. See, that's the thing. Yeah, the likable thing. People forget about that incident. You can just YouTube, Joker, push. Have yourself a good time. Do it after the show, of course. On today's episode of The Farzy Show, online strips without clothing singing Shallow. T-Bro, phenomenal. Should I go one more button? Tell me something, girl. All right. What is the next line? Are you tired of this modern world? Do you need more or? Is there something else that's searching? If only I had a music box that played Shallow. But no, I only have one that plays the Godfather theme. Miss Cusi. Jeez. Farzy, tell the story again, please. You were in New Orleans and bought a shirt. I got three for one deal. That's what I got. It was really nice. And what sucks is the guy was going to sell me a suit too, but I didn't want to crumple up a suit and then put it in my little duffel bag, my little overnight bag. It's going to ruin a nice Italian suit. Italy Direct was the name of the store. Phenomenal story. Sorry. Mac, you're going to get a copyright infringement from YouTube. They think you're actually Bradley Cooper. I know, right? I don't have a 90s rock voice. I'm sorry. Mike Williams, Farzy, they have Joseph A. Bank in Philly too. I blame my mom. My mom will tell me this. I got to do this great story, and then you listen to say, hey, your mom is not that great. April, what's going on? Oh, Bobby Boucher, Dante, Evan. What's happening? April, my kid actually likes listening to the show, but she wouldn't hear anything she hasn't heard already. I get it. Dan Schwartz. Mark got a degree. By the way, April, if it's your daughter, the black belt, no, right? Congratulations. I'll just tell you right now. Congratulations. Farzy definitely smokes. The passion is wild. No, the passion just comes. I come from a passionate people. Mullet, what movie chokes you up? Field of Dreams for sure. Dad, want to have a catch? Like, I'll never forget Mr. Devlin at Archbishop Wood High School. Now, he's going to hate that I do this if it ever gets back to him. Mr. Devlin looked exactly like Ric Flair. Still looks exactly like Ric Flair. And I'll never forget, we were talking about catharsis, and he was an English teacher at Wood. And he was talking about things that make you cry, very cathartic things. And one of the things was Field of Dreams. He was like, do you know the number one movie men cry at? And we're like, what? We have no idea. And I was like, Never Ending Story. No. Okay. But it was Field of Dreams because it makes men think of the relationship with their father. And it's like, oh, damn. And like at the time I was like 17 and I was like, really? Wow. I get it. Maybe. And then, I have kids of my own. And right before my wedding, I packed baseball mitts. And my dad's alive and well. Let me just get that out of the way. But I packed baseball mitts. I brought baseball mitts with me. And for those that don't know, I got married overseas in Italy. And I brought baseball mitts with me. And my dad and I had a catch before I walked down the aisle. And my dad and I had a catch. And then my brother and I, we had a catch as well. Like, that's such a big thing, especially in my family. And then, the end of Field of Dreams, man. Woo-hoo-hoo! But this one particular scene in A Star Is Born, it almost pushes the same button. That's all I'm saying. Almost pushes the same button. But anyway, let me tell you this great story about when I bought a shirt in New Orleans. Anyway, Lester, what's going on? Hello, good morning. Todd, what's up, Todd? Jim Grasmeter. Jim, what's up, pal? T-Bro, I'm going to think about that later and laugh at that line. A lot of people popping in the chat today, which I always appreciate. Did I get everybody? I think I got it. Kyle, good morning, Kyle. Mark Zeens, Darian, I got you. I got everybody, I think. I hope. Hey, girls. Here the girls want everyone you. All right. Mike Williams, the Lego movie had me in tears. Farzy is a movie crier. Wait, hey, What's going on, Dan? Got a Taekwondo tournament this weekend? Oh, your daughter does. It's supposedly the largest one held, and it's in Philly. Who would have known? Philadelphia, the Taekwondo capital of the world. Schwartz Kwando. All right, good luck to her as well. That's great. Ooh, Never Ending Story. Backdraft. Ooh, Sean. Backdraft's a phenomenal movie. One of the Baldwins, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Stephen Baldwin and good old Bobby De Niro? Anyway, thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic as per usual. Let's get into our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motor Cars, SkyMotorCars.com. What do we got here? I messed up. Claude Giroux has 2 points in this series. It's a 2-2 series right now between the Panthers and the Capitals. Giroux did not have a goal yesterday. It was an old clip I saw, so miscusi. But the Panthers won yesterday 3-2. That series even at 2 games apiece. In case you didn't pay attention, Claude Giroux, 23 points in 18 games with the Panthers. Barry Trotz, yes, bring him in immediately. Sixers, 7:30 tonight, TNT. Phillies back at it today against the Mariners. I believe it's Aaron Nola on the hill tonight for the Phillies. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement. Destination Retirement. Oh, no, I can't. There's one more thing I got to get to. We're going to go a minute longer here. It was a busy weekend. So I didn't talk about this yesterday on Monday's show, but I'm going to talk about it today on Tuesday's show. A legend announced his retirement from media. And that legend's name is Ray Didinger. And Ray does the phenomenal weekend show with my friend Glenn Mack now. And Ray himself is a friend of mine. Ray is an incredible human being, and I could not be happier for anyone than to walk into retirement the way he's able to walk into retirement right now. And I cannot be happier for anyone that is going to enjoy his family life more than Ray is going to enjoy his family life. Ray Didinger is a nicer guy than he comes off on TV. And on the radio. One of the most popular questions of anyone in media in Philadelphia, especially if people know that you know Ray Didinger, is Ray Didinger really the nicest guy? Is he as nice as a guy as he comes off on TV and radio? Nicer. He is one of the sweetest human beings you could ever come across, and he's one of the best writers you could ever read. He's one of the best presenters of facts we have ever had in this city, and probably the best presenter of facts we have ever had in this city. I believe it was Ike Reese that dubbed him the godfather of Philadelphia football. I loved my time around Ray Didinger. I love whenever I get to see him, any opportunity I get to see him, any opportunity I get to hang out with that man. I felt like Ray had that amazing gift of being a Hall of Famer, being a guy that just uses Emmys as paperweights because he's got so many of them. Of no matter who you were, Ray gave you the impression that he could learn something from you. My story with Ray starts at WIP, and I was lucky enough to get the job of producing Ray and Glenn on the weekends from Slack's Hoagie Shack. And one time I was able to go on the remote with them, get a free hoagie, and I was just able to hang out with Ray and Glenn. Technologically, it was a disaster. I was told by our chief engineer it wasn't my fault, but I think he was just being nice. But I got to hang out with Ray the entire time and Glenn. And one of my major takeaways was I remember people coming up to him just to say how much they loved him and how much they appreciated him. And Ray was so generous with his time that it was like the person that was like so excited to meet Ray Didinger was forced to look at their watch and be like, I gotta go. Because Ray would give everyone 20 minutes. And he'd sign copies of Eagles Encyclopedia. And I would joke with him about how much of it was just from memory. And he'd go, well, surprisingly a lot. And my major takeaway was, as far as you felt like you could tell him something, was that Ray had all the greatest stories in the world. But whenever Ray and I were in company with another football mastermind, where I just happened to be around him and he was talking to somebody like a Brian Baldinger, for instance, Ray would tee me up for a football story. Like, Ray loves this story I have about John Madden, about he totally blew me off. And every once in a while I'd see Ray, and Ray would be like, "Hey, Mark, how's Coach, by the way?" Because everyone would call John Madden Coach. "How's Coach, by the way?" And then he'd tee me up to tell this story, which is an okay story. I've told it before. But it basically just ends with John Madden blowing me off. But Ray loved it. He just thought it was hilarious because he had worked with John Madden so many times and knows the moods that the man could get in, the late, great John Madden. But Ray is just as kind and just as nice and extremely talented. He's just as nice as he is on TV. If you ever get a chance to meet him, be prepared for a conversation because there is no passing hello with Ray Dininger. There is a get to know you. And that's what makes him so damn amazing. And I couldn't be happier for anyone to announce his retirement, anyone to go and enjoy his life with his family more than Ray Dininger, because I know how much that man loves his family. I've gotten to know Dave Dininger, his son, the cameraman at NBC and all over the place over the years. He's a great guy as well. Enjoy your family, Ray, because nobody deserves where you're at right now in life more so than you. To the great Ray Dininger, to a very happy retirement. Enjoy, my friend. I'd have a drink right now in your honor, but I know you don't drink. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. All right? Go Sixers. Let's talk about a Game 5 win tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. It's the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement. DestinationRetirement.com. From the Steven Singer Studios, Jim Hyden produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. I'm Mark Farzy. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See ya.